Welcome to Jotindi, Journey to the Inner Divine. I'm Mariah, and today we're talking about something that comes up often on the healing journey. How do you know which healing method is right for you? Whether you're curious about EFT, drawn to the power of sound, or have craving for deep connection to your body through somatics, we're going to explore how each practice works and how you can choose which one is right for you, right where you're at right now on your healing journey. Welcome to Jotindi, Journey to the Inner Divine, a sacred space for healing energy, emotional release, and soulful transformation. If you're ready to live with joy, ease, and purpose, you're in the right place. Thanks so much for joining me again on Jotindi, you guys. This has been the most amazing experience starting this podcast and being able to share all of these tools with you. Today, I wanted to dive into emotional release and energy clearing and how you can start to get that done right now. So today, we're going to be talking about 3 different healing modalities that I have used in my healing journey that have been immensely helpful. The first one is EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And this is a type of acupressure. If you've heard of acupuncture, it's like that, except for instead of using needles, you use your fingers to tap on certain areas of your body, or what they call meridians, which are these energy centers that flow through you. You tap on the various meridians, and it helps to calm your nervous system. So this combines a cognitive focus and a physiological stimulation to regulate your emotional response, because in addition to the tapping, you also repeat certain phrases that accompany the tapping to help with your healing. So EFT is based off of thought field therapy, which was developed in the 80s. And that also involved tapping, but it was a lot more specific to the type of problem that you were having. Emotional freedom technique was developed in the 90s as a simplified version that also incorporates elements of NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, to help reprogram your brain along with the tapping. EFT is more generalized, and it can be used for a wide range of symptoms, including emotional and physical pain. And how it works is it interrupts your stress loops. It helps with your anxiety, your emotional overwhelm, your limiting beliefs, and it can be done anywhere, anytime, and it's really great for overthinkers. The next technique we'll talk about is somatics. And somatics is a field of study that practices and explores the body from a first-person perspective, focusing on how the body is experienced internally through sensations and perceptions. So this is a mind-body awareness that trauma is stored in your body, and there's a direct connection between your mind and your physical body. Somatics is going to be a bottom-up approach, focusing on healing the body, and that will help the mind, versus traditional therapy, which is a top-down approach focusing on working with the mind through your thought processes and cognition. Somatics includes practices like shaking, stretching, breath work, and mindful movement. It kind of ties in with EFT, as they both have elements of using body sensations to regulate your nervous system. Somatics is especially good when you are feeling emotionally numb or mentally overloaded. There are a ton of methods for practicing somatics, and they all involve you moving your body or stimulating your physical body. There are also methods where you can incorporate other people assisting you, like healing massage or rolfing, and these help reconnect you to your physical self and release the blocked energy that is stored in your body. And then the third modality we're going to speak about is sound healing. Sound healing is an immersive experience, and it uses different frequencies to harmonize your energy. So you're going to think tuning forks, sound bowls, music. These are going to affect your body on a cellular level because, like we've spoken about in our previous episodes, your cells literally vibrate on a certain frequency. So if you immerse yourself in a different frequency, your body will help align to that frequency that you're exposing yourself to. So this is really helpful for people who struggle to think their way through healing, because this is a more immersive experience. You don't have to actively or consciously think about anything. There are certain frequencies called solfeggio tones, and each frequency has a different healing property, and there are 9 of them. One of them is used for liberation from fear and guilt. Another one is undoing situations and simplifying change. There's one specifically for transformation and miracles. There's one for return to mental and spiritual order, as well as divinity, your pineal gland stimulation, and connecting to spirit. There's a lot of good that can be done with these tones, and a lot of people incorporate them into music. So you can listen to your music and reap the benefits of being exposed to these specific frequencies. And I've created a cheat sheet about these different frequencies. So make sure you download that in the show notes. It's going to list out each frequency and what it can help you with. Another sound healing modality that I like to use is called binaural beats. Binaural beats are an auditory illusion, and they're perceived when you are listening to 2 different tones, one in one ear and one in another ear, and your brain responds to these different frequencies by producing its own beat or its own frequency, which is the difference between the 2 inputs. So if you're listening to 300 hertz in one ear and 310 in the other, your brain is going to create the 10 hertz, the difference between the 2. Different frequencies are good for different things. Delta waves are good for deep sleep and relaxation. Theta waves are for REM sleep, meditation, creativity. There's alpha waves, which are good for relaxation, positivity, and reducing anxiety. And beta waves are for increased focus, alertness, and your memory. You can utilize these binaural beats when you're sleeping or when you're studying. Anytime where you can have headphones in both ears at the same time, you can play these and they will help regulate your brainwaves and your emotions. So now that we've had a little introduction to the 3 different modalities, I want to talk about what each one is best for. So first up, there's EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. Emotional freedom technique is really good for moments of mental spiraling, when you're feeling emotional overwhelm, panic, anytime where you are feeling like you need a firefighter, something that can help bring you from a 10 to a 2 in about 2 minutes. EFT works pretty quickly, usually about 2 minutes. Sometimes it takes a few rounds to get yourself down, but basically you start off and you rate your emotional state on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being really heightened, really activated, and 1 being very calm. As you go through the cycle of the EFT, when you finish a cycle, you'll re-rate your emotions until you get it down to a manageable level for yourself. EFT is great for anxiety or anger. It can even help with depression, stress, post-traumatic stress disorder. And like I said, it's great for firefighting when you need immediate relief. It can even be helpful for more complex issues like addiction if you use it regularly. So when we talk about somatics, somatics are great when talk therapy feels stuck or you feel disconnected from your body. Somatics is also very helpful for post-traumatic stress disorder, complicated grief, depression, anxiety. You can use it for trust and intimacy issues, self-esteem problems, pain. The list just goes on. Somatics can be very helpful for a ton of different issues. And anxiety specifically can lead to muscle tension and tightness. And that, as we all know, can wreak havoc on your body. And like I mentioned in our last episode, when you're living in a fight or flight mode all the time, it is terrible for you mentally and physically. And you often don't even realize how tense you are and how tense you have been for years. Somatics can help begin to relieve that tension and bring awareness to the issues that you may have been overlooking. This can be great if you need to start somewhere but don't necessarily know where you need to start. Or maybe you don't have the proper support to dive into your trauma head on a mental level, like through cognitive behavioral therapy. Somatics differs from talk therapy in that instead of trying to desensitize yourself to the trauma by revisiting it over and over, somatics actually try to release the pain rather than just desensitize yourself to it. And don't get me wrong, I do believe that both are very helpful. And there's a place and a time for both on your healing journey, and knowing when to utilize each tool is going to be critical. Now, you can start small and do somatic self-care. This is super easy. All you need is a little time and a little space. You don't even need workout clothes or anything. You can do this on your lunch break or wherever you need to. Just start by taking a deep breath in and doing a quick body scan. Roll your head from side to side, front and back. Roll your shoulders back and down. You can gently twist from side to side and tilt and roll your pelvis around to loosen your hips and your lower back. There are a ton of somatic exercises you can find online or on YouTube. So just find something that works for you and start your practice. Now, when it comes to sound healing, this is great when you want to shift your vibe without over processing. It's also really great for burnout, for spiritual reconnection, or just to relax. Sound healing dates back all the way to the ancient times. Ancient Greece believed in sound healing, and you can tell because their god Apollo was in charge of both music and healing. Now, modern science still needs more research to definitively say that it's real, but like I talked about in my episode on openness, we know that science is just starting to prove things that have been helping people for thousands of years. For example, there was one study that enrolled 60 patients that were hospitalized for having a major stroke. They all received the same standard stroke care that everybody gets. But in addition to that, 1/3 of the patients listened to recorded music for at least 1 hour a day. Another third listened to audiobooks, and the final group did not receive any auditory stimulation. After 3 months, verbal memory improved by 60% in the music listeners, compared to only 20% to 30% in the audiobook group and the patients who did not receive the auditory stimulation. In addition, the music listeners' ability to perform and control certain mental operations improved by 17%, while the patients in the other two groups did not improve at all in that area. Another awesome example of ancient healers using sound is the Great Pyramids. When they discovered the pyramids, they thought it was a tomb. However, there have actually never been any mummies found in those pyramids. However, they have discovered that they conduct electricity, and certain chambers within the pyramids resonate at certain frequencies that correlate with those solfeggio tones we were talking about earlier. So, whatever these pyramids were used for, I personally also believe that perhaps they were also used as kind of a healing station where you can go and get energy healing. At the very least, they knew that these certain resonances were helpful for people. Maybe it was just to help people do a better job. Who knows? But all I do know is that those were very specific, and I find it super fascinating that they have those certain resonances in those certain chambers. Sound healing is also extremely helpful for stress and anxiety reduction, for physical pain management, for mood enhancement, and for improving your sleep quality. Binaural beats are good for relaxation and stress reduction. Some studies suggest that binaural beats can help lower your stress and anxiety levels. They can improve your sleep. They can enhance your focus and your concentration. They can help regulate your mood, work with pain management, and increase creative and cognitive development. And the solfeggio tones, specific frequencies like 396 hertz, helps release fear and guilt, while 528 hertz promotes love and transformation. They're believed to help with emotional healing and processing. They can also help with physical healing because certain frequencies help tissue regeneration. They can help with chakra balancing and help to harmonize the energy centers in your body. There are also practical applications. People use these frequencies often as background music during meditation or breathwork practices to help deepen the experience. And I just wanted to put out a little reminder that these are all connected. Each one is connected to another in some way. For example, when you're tapping, you're touching your body, which is somatic. When you're listening to sounds, you can feel the vibrations in your body, which is also helping move your body, which is a little bit somatic. Each one is about tuning in, and each practice has a different level of involvement so that you can choose which one you'd like to use based on how you're feeling. Somatics are going to require the most amount of effort and movement. Not that it's like going to the gym or doing a full exercise or anything like that, but it does require that you move your body. Emotional freedom technique, the EFT tapping, is minimal movement. You're just moving your hands a little bit here and there. And it requires a little bit more mental attention because we do have the wording that goes along with it. And then sound therapy is going to be the most passive for when you are really shut down and you just can't do anything. You can't bring yourself to move or tap or think about the cognitions required to go along with EFT. You just need something to wash over you and help clear out your energy. Sound therapy is really great for that. So, what is calling to you right now? That's where you're going to start. I want you to trust your body's wisdom because sometimes it knows before your mind does. If you feel a gentle pull or a nudge toward one thing over another, explore it. It's not a lifelong commitment and you're not committed to it forever. If you're not into it, you can always just choose again. You're not stuck with one practice either. These practices are going to evolve with you. As your needs and your desires shift and grow, so will your healing practices. This is just a surface level overview of a few healing modalities. There are many layers to each one of these practices that you can explore, and a ton more practices out there for you to discover. So I want you to invite curiosity instead of pressure. This isn't a test, it's a toolkit. You can't do it wrong, so just pick one and start and see how you feel. If you're curious about the sound healing, I want you to download the free guide that I mentioned earlier in the episode, our solfeggio frequencies cheat sheet. It's a beautiful guide to help you explore how you can heal and what each frequency is best for. You can find it at the link in the show notes. So I hope this episode was very helpful for you. We talked about the different modalities, what they're helpful for, and how you can choose which one to start with. I want to thank you so much for sharing this space with me today. I hope you feel a little bit more empowered and a little bit more connected to your own sacred energy. Until next time, trust the unfolding, protect your peace, and keep walking your path back to the divine within. And don't forget, there's no path to happiness. Happiness is the path.